All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into something that feels like a straight-up ancient epic. It's basically a screenplay, and it's all about pride, desperation, and, well, a battle against some truly impossible odds. And it kicks off with this one single defiant threat. Wow. I mean, that's a line that just leaves zero room for negotiation, right? These are the words of a king, and they are so packed with arrogance that you just know a fight is coming. So the big question is, who's he talking to, and what did they do to inspire that much contempt? So who is on the receiving end of that pretty chilling threat? Well, that brings us to our first part. We're going to meet the protagonists of this story, a really weary group of people who have finally made it to this fateful border after an unbelievably long journey. So try to picture this scene, okay? You've got this huge sun-baked plain, thousands and thousands of people, and you can just see it on their faces, right? The exhaustion from this brutal desert journey. Their animals are thin. I mean, they are just wiped out. But you can also see this little flicker of hope in their eyes. They've made it. They've finally arrived. And the one leading them, it's Moses. He's described as wise, determined, and he's really focused on just one thing: peace. Seriously, his goal here is not conquest. He sends a message to the local king, and his request is so simple. Just let us pass through. They promise they'll stick to the main road. They won't touch a single field, not even a well. It's about as humble an appeal as you can get.
But as you can probably guess, that simple, peaceful request is about to smash right into a brick wall of pride. So, in our next section, we get to meet the antagonists, the guys standing in their way. We're talking about two incredibly arrogant kings who look at this plea and don't see a request. No, they see it as an insult.
And right here, the conflict is just laid bare. It's so clear. On one side, you have the Israelites. They're just weary travelers, right? Not a formal army. They're led by their faith. And on the other side, you've got the established powers. We're talking well-equipped, super confident armies, led by these kings who basically see these newcomers as, I don't know, an annoyance that just needs to be crushed. Okay, so first up, we meet King Sihon. Remember that chilling quote from the beginning? Yeah, this is the guy. He is the absolute picture of arrogance, sitting on some lavish throne, probably not even really listening to the request. He spits out the words desert nomads with just pure scorn. For a guy like him, there's no negotiation. There's just an opportunity to show off how powerful he is. So of course, war is his immediate, unthinking answer. And just look at his mindset here. He's not just, defending his border. He is looking for total annihilation. He immediately sees this as a chance to make an example out of the Israelites, and he calls on a pretty terrifying ally to help him get it done. And who's that ally? Well, it's King Og of Bashan. And this guy, he's described as something more than human. A literal giant of a man, so inhumanly large that his very presence is basically a weapon. He is a figure just built to inspire pure, absolute terror. So, Og gets the message, and his response is apparently just this booming, contemptuous laugh. He's heard the stories about these travelers and their so-called miracles, but nah. He puts his faith in one thing: steel. And think about that last line he says. For him, this isn't even a battle. It's a hunt. It's just sport. The level of arrogance here it's just staggering. So, diplomacy is officially off the table. You've got two kings just eager for bloodshed. The stage is set. In this next part, the talking is done. This is now a battle for the future, and there's no way to avoid it. And here we go, the moment of truth. On the plains, right before Heshbon, the two sides are facing off. Just try to picture it. This massive, organized Amorite army, their chariots gleaming in the sun. Right next to them, the terrifying warriors of Bashan, led by that mountain of a man, King Og. And who's facing this war machine? A weary band of travelers who've been forced to become soldiers overnight. Right before the fighting kicks off, Moses gives this incredibly powerful speech, and he doesn't talk about military strategy or tactics. No. He completely reframes the whole conflict. He tells them, look, this isn't just about surviving today. He says they're fighting for their children, for their future, for a divine promise. He's basically turning their sheer desperation into their greatest source of strength. Fired up by those words, the battle begins. And now, in part 4, we get to the climax of the whole story, the fall of the giants. What comes next is just a brutal, chaotic clash that's going to decide the fate of an entire people. The battle just explodes into chaos. The Amorite chariots charge forward. It's this overwhelming wave of force. It really seems hopeless. But from a hill nearby, Moses is praying, and somehow the tide starts to turn. The Israelites, they're fighting with nothing but pure desperation, and they start to push back. And that leads to one stunning development right after another. And then you get the first major turning point. King Sihon, the guy who was so confident in his fancy war chariot, gets thrown from it, and he's defeated. The effect is instantaneous. The moment his army sees their supposedly invincible leader fall, they just break. Panic spreads like wildfire, and that organized charge they had, it completely crumbles. Okay, so the Amorites are fleeing, and the entire battle now focuses on one man, the terrifying King Og. He's just this whirlwind of destruction, a total force of nature with a massive club. But he gets isolated. He gets surrounded. And in this final heroic push, the Israelite warriors just swarm him, and they do the impossible. The giant falls. So, with both kings dead and their armies totally shattered, the impossible has actually happened. The battle is over. And in our final section here, we see what comes next. A victory is proclaimed. Picture this. The sun is setting, and it's painting the sky red over this now silent battlefield. The survivors, they're caked in dust and blood, and they are just utterly exhausted. But they're victorious. You can just imagine the sense of awe as they look around at what they've just accomplished against all possible odds. And it's Moses who delivers the final verdict on what happened that day. He doesn't take any credit for their strategy or even for their bravery. No. From his perspective, this victory wasn't won by their own strength at all. It was delivered to them by a higher power. And that really brings the story's central theme of faith to a powerful, definitive conclusion. You know, this ancient story leaves us with a really powerful question to chew on. What is it that truly turns an underdog's desperation into victory? Is it just unshakable faith? Or maybe it's the fatal arrogance of their enemies? Or is there some kind of unique strength that you can only find when you've got absolutely nothing left to lose? It's definitely something we're thinking about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.